the Young Dudes by MsKingBean89, Chapter 61, 4th Year, November, Part 1. Don't forget, I need that 3-page essay on the similarities and differences between Thunderbirds and Phoenixes on Friday at the latest, Professor Ferrex called out. No excuses. Mary and Marlene groaned as they packed away their things. I completely forgot about that, Marlene whispered. I've got practice almost every night this week. We've got the Ravenclaw match on Sunday. I'll lend you my notes, Remus replied, carefully blotting his paper. It's really easy. Sunday's Sirius's birthday too, isn't it? Mary asked, thoughtfully. Yeah, how'd you know? Well, we did sort of go out last year, Mary said, haughtily, shooting at Remus. Angie lot always makes such a massive fuss over birthdays, it's pretty hard to forget. God, I hope Griffin will win. He'll be in a right mood. Yeah, Remus agreed. He hadn't thought of that. He'd planned to reveal his big prank plan on Sirius's birthday in lieu of a proper gift. He wondered if he ought to buy something as well, though they weren't due in Hogsmeade for a few weeks. He could always give Sirius a pack of cigarettes, but that seemed a bit cheap, especially as Sirius knew they were stolen. Andromeda had already sent some presents Ed, Kev the Pies, and James had hidden them under his bed. More records, of course. Remus dearly hoped that one of them was the new Bowie LP, Diamond Dogs. I'm off to the Owlery. Need to send something to Darren, Mary said, as they left the classroom. Coming, Miles? Marlene looked a bit put out, so Remus said quickly. I'm going to the library. Do you want to get those notes? Yeah, thanks, Remus. They said goodbye to Mary and began walking in the opposite direction together. Remus liked Marlene a lot. She was tall for a girl, and he didn't have to crane his neck to talk to her all the time. Other than an emotional outburst at the end of their 3rd year, she was also very much a no-nonsense person, which Remus found very common compared to Mary, who was always a lot of fun, but sometimes very full-on. Thanks, Marlene grinned at him. I love the girl, but there's only so many times I can proofread her dirty letters to Darren. Dirty letters? Remus gaped. Marlene laughed. Yeah, it's pretty horrendous. Hey, Remus, can I ask you something? What? Does Sirius like me? Remus felt his initial reaction, which was one of despair. It felt as though he hadn't gone through a week of the new year without having to listen to someone's romantic problems. Why did they all think he was the best person to talk to? When had he ever given the impression that he was even remotely interested? I don't know, he said, hoping he didn't sound too annoyed. I'd have to ask him. I don't think he'd give me a straight answer, Marlene chuckled. Sorry, it's just that he's been acting really weird around me during Quidditch practice. Weird? Yeah, just comments and stuff. It's a bit annoying, really. I don't really fancy him as much as I used to, you know. He's such an attention seeker. He was always much more Mary's type. What comments? Stuff about me giving him a kiss for good luck or something. Maybe it's his idea of flirting, or maybe it's a joke. You never know with James and Sirius, do you? It suddenly dawned on Remus what was going on. He was half angry, half embarrassed for Sirius. What? Marlene said, stopping just outside the library. What's the face for? Oh, Marlene, look, really sorry about this, but... And he explained to her all about the bet. Okay, yes. She was quite likely to tell Mary, and Mary was extremely likely to tell everyone else in their year, but that would serve the boys right, in Remus's opinion. He took distinct pleasure in ruining Sirius's chances at winning the stupid bet. Fortunately, Mary was a very sensible girl, and by the end of Remus's explanation, she was giggling. It makes so much sense, she said, wheezing. James kept trying to stop Sirius from talking to me and everything. Those boys, they're completely ridiculous. Yeah, Remus grinned, relieved that someone else shared his opinion. Oh, great. Now I can have some fun with it, Marlene smirked as they entered the library, lowering their voices. She then added a little wistfully, Shame James hasn't tried it on. He might have a chance. Remus raised his eyebrows. Well, he's only got eyes for Lily, so... Marlene sighed. That's a losing battle. Still, never mind. They settled down at their favourite desk, which was near the biggest window and provided some nice natural light. Remus pulled out his notes and showed Marlene how he'd listed all of the qualities of thunderbirds and phoenixes. Then, how he'd begun to compare the two. Grateful for his help, Marlene offered up her astronomy notes, and the two of them spent a companionable hour scribbling away. Eventually, it was time for dinner. "Remus," Marlene said, quietly, as they finished up, "are all the marauders in on this bet, or is it just James and Sirius?" I think Peter's doing it. He might regret it a bit now, though." "So you're not?" "No!" he replied, a little bit more loudly than he meant to. "Shame," she replied, her eyes twinkling, "'cause I bet you can win." He snorted. "As if." "Girls like you. You're really nice and kind and clever." "Shut up." "I'd snog you." "Oh my God, Marlene!" Remus started walking a bit faster, his ears feeling very hot. "You're my friend." "Yeah, but just to win the bet," she grinned, matching his pace. He forgot how athletic she was, and he still had a dodgy hip. "Isn't there anyone you fancy?" "No. Come on, I'm hungry." It wasn't a lie, Remus thought to himself. Sort of felt like one there. "Go, go, Gryffindor, go, go!" Remus chanted along with everyone else. Having Peter wildly waving a scarf over his head like a lunatic with a knit lasso helped mitigate any embarrassment Remus might have felt for himself. He was nervous, though. More nervous than he had been for James and Marlene's first game, because Sirius, well, of course very good at flying, did not always make the best decisions under pressure. And Quidditch was a dangerous sport if you were reckless. Half the crowd was decked out in blue, the other half in scarlet, and a deafening cacophony of boos and cheers erupted as the two teams walked onto the pitch. James was visible as ever with his wild mess of hair, and from a distance, the two Gryffindor beaters were the same height, distinguishable only by their different coloured ponytails poking out under their helmets, one flaxen, one black. Remus felt his heart in his mouth as the players mounted their brooms, squatted slightly, and then launched into the air with the blow of a whistle. It was hard to know who to follow, as James zipped up and down the pitch like a lightning bolt in pursuit of the quaffle, while Marlene and Sirius split off, covering different ends of the pitch, back to left. The two beaters had very different styles. Marlene was focused, intended to tail the players rather than the bludgers in order to best protect her teammates. Sirius favoured a different tact, going directly after the offending balls, no matter where they were, and knocking them as far away from the game as possible. This is Black's first game, and he's obviously thrown himself into it. The commentator's voice echoed over the crowds. He's no doubt received plenty of coaching from Potter, who's just scored the first goal. That's Gryffindor in the lead with 10 points. Remus was too anxious to cheer along with everyone else, getting dizzy trying to follow all three of his friends in the air. "As I was saying," the commentator, a 7th-year footballer, continued. "Lots of talent on the Gryffindor side this year. Potter, of course, and McKinnon, who's one of the best beaters the Reds have had in years, and now Sirius Black, the black sheep of a bona fide Quidditch dynasty. You'll remember his cousin Narcissa Black of Slytherin, one of the finest seekers Hogwarts had ever seen, and of course the younger black brother, Regulus, who's taken Narcissa's place after a season as a chaser. Rumour has there's bad blood in the Black Clan, so you can bet that the Gryffindor-Slytherin match next term is going to be." "If you would please focus on the game currently in progress, Miss Darcy," McGonagall snapped over the megaphone. "Sorry, Professor. So that's Dumbelm of Ravenclaw in possession of the quaffle. She shoots and she... Oh, and it's a bad miss." The game went on, and Remus hoped that Sirius hadn't been listening to the commentary. Bringing up the Black family was a surefire way to break his concentration. But no, all seemed well. He was hitting the bludgers with a bit more vigour, but that could have just as easily been the adrenaline. By the end of the game, it became evident that Remus's concerns were for nothing. Sirius may not act as though he took Quidditch seriously off the pitch, but clearly having a cheering audience did wonders for his concentration. Once the Gryffindor Seeker caught the snitch, ending the match on 300 to 110 in Gryffindor's favour, the two beaters flew to the ground. Remus saw Sirius throw a gallant arm around Marlene's shoulders and lean in, only to be deftly dodged as she offered a cheek for him to kiss. The common room was a riot of red, gold and rock music that evening. The whole house came to celebrate both Gryffindor's victory and Sirius's birthday. Remus, for what it was worth, sold more cigarettes than he had all year so far. He had come prepared, assuming correctly that the older students would be drinking, making them more inclined to pay up for a hit of nicotine. He himself stayed away from any suspicious-looking drinks, remembering his hellish hangovers from this summer. Sirius and James were in their element, of course, roaring with laughter and soaking up the congratulations from their classmates. Peter rung about close enough to enjoy the limelight, but not so close as to get in the way. Remus was happy to watch at a distance, chatting with Lily and Mary and enjoying the snacks brought up from the kitchens. He knew he would not get a chance to divulge his plan until much later now. That was okay. Better for everyone to enjoy themselves. There was plenty of time yet. At some point, Sirius finally got around to opening his presents. A broom repair kit from James, a lot of chocolate from Peter, and from Andromeda, no less than 3 brand new albums. Dark Side of the Moon, Country Life, which had an incredibly rude cover that all the boys smirked and passed around, made Remus want to die of embarrassment, and Diamond Dogs. "Oh!" Remus said, unable to contain his excitement as he held the much-awaited record in his hands, stroking the bizarre nightmarish artwork. "Put this one on first, please." Sirius grinned. "Anything for you, Moony," and settled the disc into place on the turntable. The record player howled, sending a shiver of shock down Remus's spine. The cry of a wolf. He stared up at James and Sirius in alarm. They looked just as surprised as he, though Sirius broke into smile as David Bowie's voice filled the room, as if speaking an incantation.
And in the death, as the last few corpses lay rotting on the slimy thoroughfare, the shutters lifted an inch in Temperance Building high on Poacher's Hill, and red mutant eyes gazed down on Hunger City.
The whole common room was uncomfortably quiet as this grim, ugly poem was recited, not quite sure where to look as the dogs howled and whined in the background. It made Remus feel dark and dirty, but he thought he liked it, as if Bowie was speaking directly to him, especially as the final lines were yelled out.
"This ain't nothing, no! This is genocide!"
"A whole month," Sirius whispered loudly. 30 days, yup, James replied in the same stage whisper. "If we do it over the summer." "You forgot the silencing spell, idiots," Remus called out. "Bugger!" Lots of rustling. It was well past midnight on the day of Sirius's birthday, and the party had long since been broken up by the prefects. The marauders had climbed up the stairs to bed, sleepy and excitable, but apparently James and Sirius had a second wind, and they were now in a private conference in James's bed. Remus had a pretty good idea what they were talking about, but had decided to leave them be for now. See how far they took it. Still, he knew they'd realised they'd forgotten the spell eventually, and decided honesty was the best policy. Remus and Sirius poked their heads out from behind their respective curtains at the same time. "Sorry, Moony," Sirius grinned. "Did we wake you?" "Nah," Remus shrugged. I was thinking about this prank." "Prank?" James's head joined Sirius in the gap between the curtains. "Who said prank?" Remus smiled shyly. He'd thought he might have to wait until the next weekend to tell them, but James magnanimously opened the bed curtains further. "Please, Mr. Moony," he said, "step into our office." Eagerly, Remus scrambled out from his tangle of bed sheets and padded barefoot across the chilly bedroom floor into James's bed. He felt as though he'd been waiting for 4 years for an invite. "Well?" James asked, seriously, pointing his one light at Remus like a microphone. "Tell us." "Just a second," Remus rolled his eyes, withdrawing his own wand. "Muffliato." "He's too clever for us," Sirius said, dryly. "Indeed," James agreed. Remus ignored them. They were jumpy and silly from lack of sleep. He had to at least give them the gist of his plan before they finally crashed. "Remember I was telling you about Matron's alarm clock?" he asked them, quickly. The boys nodded obediently, like cocker spaniels. "Now we used to fiddle with it so we didn't have to get up early anymore." All nodded. "Well, I was thinking about how it could be applied to Hogwarts. I did some research, and did you know all of the clocks at the school are controlled by one master clock? The big one outside the Great Hall." "Oh, Moony!" Sirius cried, suddenly throwing himself at Remus, flinging his arms around him with such force that they both toppled backward onto the bed. Startled, Remus tried to push him away, but Sirius held fast, pretending to sob onto his shoulder for joy. "You've read Hogwarts history! One of you has finally read it! You're now my favourite marauder." "Grotto, sir," Remus growled, finally forcing him off and shuffling further away onto the bed. James laughed at them both. "No one would ever guess you're the oldest Black." James grinned. "Moony, please continue. The big clock." "Right, yeah." Remus straightened his night shirt, feeling very hot and flushed from the assault. I had this idea. It was no good. He'd completely lost his train of thought. Now all he could think about was what an irritating idiot Sirius was. "The big lock controls all the others," Sirius filled in, quickly, remarkably lucid now. "It's a spell that makes sure every clock and watch in the castle is perfectly synchronized. Even the ones we bring from home reset. Even Muggle clocks. It's a bloody good bit of magic." "Yeah," Remus nodded, getting back into the flow. "Yeah, exactly. So I'm thinking, if that clock goes wrong, we get moved by 5 minutes, then so do all the others. And it would affect lesson times and meals and, well, pretty much the whole running of the castle. If we started off really slowly, say, moving it forward 5 minutes a night, no one would notice for ages, would they? I mean, how could anyone notice if all the clocks are the same?" He finished, sitting back and looking at James, because he was still annoyed with Sirius for flustering him and almost spoiling it. James's brain was working at warp speed. Remus knew this because he had pushed his glasses back on his nose. Finally, he looked at Sirius and smiled. "Ah, Moony's done it again."